Just taking a moment to begin to come into this space. Letting awareness settle on the breath. No need to change anything, simply observing this natural current of breath as it flows through the body. Observing all the places that lift, that expand with the inhales, and all the places that sink back in towards center with the exhales. And taking in any other little details about the breath, about how quickly or slowly it flows or where it's located. The quality of the breath, if it's smooth and even, if it's sharp or has any jagged edges to it. Noticing all of these little observations about the breath without judgment, simply letting them be guides that help you know where you are as you arrive on your mat today. And as you're ready, gently beginning to lengthen that breath, gently extending the inhales. And gently extending the exhales. Each inhale, feeling the air pulls all the way down so it fills the abdomen, expands the ribcage in all three dimensions, like collarbones lightly lifting. As you exhale, collarbones sink, ribcage contracts, navel just lightly back in towards the spine. With each inhale, feel yourself breathing in space and ease and lightness into the body. Each exhale, releasing everything else that isn't this present moment. So each breath connects you more and more deeply to this moment, this space, and this body, exactly as it's showing up right now. On your next inhale, let the crown of the head lift up a little higher. As you exhale, right ear drops over the right shoulder, maybe left fingertips reaching down to the ground. Following that sensation that arises along the left side of the neck. And deciding if you want to stay right here with this, or do you want to invite in movement, exploring the lines of tension as they move through your neck, nodding the head yes, right ear dropping the right shoulder. Or maybe shaking the head no. Or circling the chin. And as you move, maybe noticing where there is most sensation. What kind of sensation is it? Is it something you need more of or less of? When you come to your next exhale, slowly begin to let the chin drop right down to the chest. As you inhale, feel the spine get nice and long as the chin drops down heavy. So you feel a nice long neutral spine, and then start to notice that length through the back of the neck. And again, observing what that sensation is that you feel, where you feel it, and deciding to stay right here with this, or to begin to nod the head yes as the gaze stays low. Or maybe to turn the head side to side with the chin close to the chest. Maybe making little half circles with the head rolling one ear over to same side shoulder, to right side shoulder, and then rolling over to chin to chest to roll to the other side. Coming back through center. Maybe you keep moving, or maybe you pause right here in the center and just take your hands to the junction of neck and shoulders and massage out some of the tension that gets held there throughout the day. Whenever this feels complete to you, taking the heel of one hand to your forehead. On an inhale, gently setting the head right up into center. Exhaling for free, feeling the differences between the two sides of the neck. If there are any you notice them. When you come to your next exhale, let the left ear drop over to left shoulder, right fingertips reaching down towards the ground. And then again, pausing for a moment, feeling out what's happening along the right side of the neck. And decide, do you want to stay here with this work, this sensation? Or do you want to invite in that movement, nodding the head yes? Maybe shaking the head no. Left ear heavy to the left shoulder. Or circling the chin. You might notice that the lines of tension are different on this side of the neck, and that's totally normal. It's called being human. We're asymmetrical beings, so honoring that asymmetry. And at some point when you're ready to, slowly letting the chin drop right down towards center one more time. Taking an inhale, circle the arms right up to the sky, interlace your fingers, bend the elbows, and let the hands come right to the base of the skull, back of the head. Press your head into your hands as you inhale and start to lift the chin back up until it's parallel to the ground, so the head comes back up neutral. Head presses into hands, hands press into head. Feeling those muscles through the back of the neck, keep those elbows nice and wide. Smooth, even breath just here like this. And then exhaling, release the hands on down. Extend the legs out long, letting the circulation come fully into the back of the legs. You can move a little through the knees. Pull the toes strongly back towards you when you finally settle in with the legs straight. And then with the toes pulled back as far as they'll come, just notice where the work is in the legs, where the lengthening is. What sensations do you feel and where are they? And then as you're ready, starting to keep the toes pulling back towards you, but start to press the soles of the feet down towards the floor, as far away from you as you can. Toes pointing towards you until you can't go any farther at the ankle joint. And then curl the toes on down to the ground too. And then pause here and feel where the work is, where the lengthening sensations are. And when you're ready to, on an inhale, pull the tops of your feet towards you, but keep the toes curling down towards the floor as long as you can until you can't come any closer through the ankle joint, tops of the feet coming towards your body, and then release the toes. And then give yourself a nice little circle through the ankles in each direction. Making your way up to your knees, coming onto your mat. We're going to come up to the knees for just a moment. Inhale, circle those arms right up to the sky. Get nice and long through both sides of the body. Maybe reach out a little bit side to side. As you exhale, right hand comes down to the ground. You can walk those right fingertips over, left arm reaching way over to the right. And then see how long can you get from your left pinky finger to your left hip crease. You can really send the left hips down towards the ground, leaning out through those left hips. And decide if you want to stay in stillness or if you want to move through the fingers, move through the wrist. You might bend that left elbow and straighten it. You might move through the shoulder. Movements big or small. Taking one more round of breath to explore what your body needs right here. And when you come to your next inhale, reach both arms right back up through center and then reach out a little bit side to side and see if you notice any differences on the left side of the body and the right side of the body. When you come to your next exhale, left fingertips come down to the ground, walking the left fingertips over to the left, right arm dropping to that side. Reaching out from right through the right fingertips. You can even send those right hips to the right as the right fingers reach to the left. And noticing what the sensation is to the right side of the body. Deciding, are you staying here in stillness or do you want to move through the fingertips? Move through the wrist. Would you like to bend through the elbow and straighten? Move all through that right shoulder. Whenever this feels like it's enough to you, on an inhale, reach up through both arms, coming back to center, maybe reach out a little bit side to side. And then as you exhale, hands come right down through your heart center. You can let the gaze follow the fingers. Take your big toes together, knees open up nice and wide. You can start to walk your hands forward and let yourself come all the way down into child's pose. Or, Roy, it might be nice to let your head rest on a pillow or a block so that you have your head a little bit higher, today especially. So if you want to go ahead and let the boredom come to the mat, go ahead, all the way down into your child's pose. Take a moment just to mentally scan the body. Noticing what you feel and where you feel it. Where is the sensation today? Where is the breath? Can you allow the breath to expand through the back of the body as much as the front of the body? So that with each inhale, you feel the space between the vertebrae increasing. And as you exhale, the vertebra rock gently back in towards center. Yeah, good, I can see that. On your next inhale, beginning to lift the hips, lift the torso, coming up to all fours. And then just starting to move through the fingertips a little bit, letting the weight rock forward and back through the wrists. You can start to turn the fingers in. Turn the fingers slowly around and to point all different directions. Just feeling out what it's like to have the weight in the wrists today. Even letting the backs of the hands come down to the mat. You can circle them around. Whatever this exploration feels complete to you, letting the wrists come right under the shoulders, toes tucking under, and on an inhale, letting the movement start right at the tailbone. The tailbone begins to lift, and then vertebra by vertebra, letting the belly begin to sink down towards the floor. Movement going like a wave up the spine. The low ribs start to pull forward. The sternum pulls forward. The neck lifts, back of the neck lifts, the chin, the gaze. When you come to an exhale, untucking the toes, drawing the tailbone under first, and then slowly vertebra by vertebra, rounding up the spine like a Halloween cat. So the center of the back lifts up towards the ceiling. The collarbone starts to point down towards the floor. The chin eventually tucks right in towards the chest. And then you're going to just move with your own breath at your own pace, starting to explore this movement. Forward and backwards, up and down. Concave and convex. And feeling out what is happening in the spine. As you move through each of these positions, where does your spine articulate today? Are there any places where the spine wants to move more in groups? Where are the places of most sensation, of most feedback as you move? Where are the places of less sensation, less feedback? Or more mobility and less mobility? So often there's a place in the spine where we are most mobile, and that tends to be the place we move from. So it can be really interesting to see, can you stabilize the most mobile part of the spine? And can you create a little bit more mobility through the less mobile regions of the spine. Maybe playing with that for another round. Noticing what that does. How does that change things, or does it change things? When you come back on your next inhale through a neutral spine, begin to move in other ways through the spine. You might circle through the rib cage in each direction. Or you might circle through the hips in each direction. You can play with rotation, reaching an arm under, finding a little thread the needle, or coming up onto the fingertips of one hand and onto the forearm of the other might be better, especially today for you, Roy. Moving any way your body wants to, just sort of playing with all the ways you can think of that your spine could use to move today. What are the ways it hasn't had a chance to move recently? What does it need? And at some point when you feel like you're more or less even, coming back through neutral, you might take your hands to blocks, or you might let them stay on the floor, whatever you'd like to do, but maybe creating a little bit more space for you to step through. When you're ready, on an exhale, step in the right foot right up in between your hands. And then allowing yourself a little bit of a time to rock forward and back, to start to feel into what's happening in the hips today. You can straighten the front leg as you sink back a little bit. You can let the knee on the front knee to go way past the ankle on the way forward. Just feeling out all of the movement here. You can make it just about hips moving forward and back, or you can let the spine come into it, rounding forward. A little bit like cat as you drop back, and then arching as you come forward, like cow. And at some point, letting that right knee settle over right ankle, drawing that right thigh bone strongly back into the hip socket, finding a little engagement there. Hands come onto the right thigh. Squeeze the hips forward. See if you can tuck the tailbone under. Feel what happens to the front of the left hip. And then maybe you stay here, just keeping that work through the legs, or maybe you inhale, circle the arms right up to the sky. Get nice and long through both sides of the body. You might reach out a little bit side to side, or you might choose stillness. And if you do reach out side to side a little bit, you might notice, is there a spot where you say, oh, I could use to spend a little bit more time here. Would I like to stay here? Maybe you find a place to stay. Maybe you keep reaching and feeling the different sides. And then on an exhale, letting the hands come down to your blocks, draw the hips back one more time. Straighten through those front legs. You can take the blocks back with you through the front leg. Inhale, get nice and long through the spine, and then exhale, send your hips back. You can let the head stay nice and high, higher than the heart. So the spine's long, the neck can be a natural extension of the spine. And press that right heel down into the mat. See if you draw the right thigh bone back into the hip socket, and then notice what you feel through the back of the leg, drawing the toes strongly back towards your face. Dorsiflexion through the ankle. You can stay right where you are. You can bring some rotation into the hip with this. So turning the thigh bone inwards, internal rotation, you might feel some more length through the outside of the leg. If you externally rotate the femur, you might feel more length to the inside of the leg. See how that feels. Maybe you go back and forth. Maybe you say, ooh, I really need the internal rotation and that lengthening through the outside of the leg. On your next inhaling, drawing that right knee back forward. And then you decide how to transition. We're going to come to the left foot forward. Maybe you play with hands coming up to your heart and floating that right leg all the way back around. Maybe you have your hands on the blocks and step the right knee back to meet the left knee. Any way you want to get there is fine. When you're ready, on an exhale, left foot comes right up in between your hands. And then same thing, just starting to play with that forward and backwards movement. And noticing, what do you feel on the right side of the body? What do you feel on the left side of the body? How are they different? What has changed on the right since the class began? What begins to change as you start to move on the left? Maybe you bring the spine into it a little bit more. Maybe you let the arms come into it, reaching the arms overhead, arching as you come forward. And then drawing the arms back, rounding the spine like cat as you draw backwards. Maybe 2 more rounds of breath, just exploring sensation in movement, dynamic movement, before we settle into a little bit more stillness. On an inhale, letting left knee step over left ankle, drawing that left thigh bone strongly back, hands up to left thigh. Squeeze the hips forward, right tailbone tucks under, and then keeping all that work through the legs. Inhale, reach the arms right up to the sky. And again, you can stay in stillness here. You can work on finding that length all through the sidelines of the body. We don't spend a lot of time with our arms overhead in daily life, so you can spend time here and see what that feels, what that does for you. You can play with that, reaching outside to side, and notice if there's a place your body says it would like to stay. If you reach the right fingers over to the left, you get more into that lengthening through the right hip flexors. Maybe you want to feel the work of going back and forth. When you come to an exhale, at some point, hands come down to your blocks. Draw your hips back, straighten through the left leg, and then pull those left toes back towards your face. Press the heel down. Left hamstring back into the hip socket, left thigh bone into the hip socket. So you feel all of this engagement and lengthening sensation through the posterior chain. Inhaling, nice long spine, and as you exhale, really send the hips backwards, but let your head stay just neutral. Your neck is neutral through the spine, so you're not dropping down too far. And then decide, do you want to stay right here? Is this what your body needs? Or do you want to bring that rotation into the left thigh bone? You can play with turning the thigh bone in, internal rotation, to feel that length through the outside of the left leg. Or play with external rotation, sending the lengthening through the inside of the left leg. You can go back and forth, or you can settle into the place that your body needs it most. And at some point, on an inhale, drawing that left knee back forward over left ankle, and stepping the right foot up to meet the left foot, and a nice halfway lift. You can come right up to halfway lifting. Send your hips back, and see if you can find a nice long line from your tailbone all the way through the common spine. Hands can be right on the thighs. Smooth, even breath, really finding support and length through the sidelines of the body. And then on your next exhale, let the knees bend, hips sink. Inhale, let's reach the arms all the way out to the side, all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands come right into the heart center. How are you doing, Roy? Everything good so far? Yep, great. All right. So just starting to play a little bit with balance. And I don't know if your balance has been affected at all, Roy. So feel free to use a chair or a wall, whatever you need for support. Press into your right foot, hands to wherever you feel stable. And on an inhale, let that left knee lift just as high as it wants to come. And then start to circle through the left ankle. Take a really fast circle in each direction. Notice what you notice. And then take a really slow circle through the left ankle. And notice all the places where your foot wants to skip ahead. All the places where the circle is less smooth, less connected, and that super slow circle. When you get all the way back around, decide you want to reset, give yourself a breath, a real resetting of the foundation. Inhaling at some point to let that left knee lift back up one more time. And then keeping your hips exactly where they are in space, the pelvis where it is in space, the hip, little bony hip points, the ASIS, point forward. And then start to draw your knee out to the side as far as it can, out to the left. When you can't go any farther without your torso coming with you, pause there, start to let the knee lower down towards the ground. Turn the thigh bone in, the knee turns in, the heel turns out, hips stay pointing forward, torso forward, lift the knee up, and come all the way back through center. And then returning the opposite direction, knee turns in, heel turns out, and start to lower. When you get to the bottom, turn the knee out, the heel in, and lift. Come all the way back up through center. See if you can extend that left leg out long, one smooth, even breath. And when you're ready to exhale, release that down. And then give yourself a little shake. Let that go. Inhaling to circle the arms right up to the sky. Big breath in through the nose. Exhale, hands come with the gaze right back into the heart. You can keep your hands here. You can take them to your hips where they can come to the wall. Wherever you feel stable, press into the left foot on an inhale. Let your right knee lift. Just as high as it wants to come. And start with those quick circles through the right ankle. Notice what you notice. And notice what you don't notice when you circle quickly. And then find your slowest circle you can possibly find on that right ankle. What are all the things you can learn about where you control the movement as you circle really slowly? Where does your foot want to skip ahead? Where is the brain-body map missing a point as you circle in that super, super slow right ankle circle? When you've gone all the way around in both directions, you can reset completely or you can keep playing with balance, your choice. But if you reset, give yourself the breath. And when you're ready on an inhale, right knee lifts. Keep the hips right where they are in space, the pelvis right where it is in space. Start to draw the right knee out as far as you can without the torso or the hips going with it. And then start to lower the right knee down. When you get all the way down to the bottom and center, turn the knee in, the heel out. Find internal rotation to the right thigh bone and then lift. Don't let the torso move. Stay facing forward and come through center. And then switch directions. Knee goes in, heel goes out as you lower. When you get to the bottom and the center, knee turns out, heel goes in. Lift all the way up. Come back through center. See if you can extend that leg out long in front of you. One smooth, even breath. And then exhale, release. And give yourself a little shake. Let it go. Inhaling when you're ready, circle those arms all the way to the sky. Gaze to your fingertips. Exhale, hands and gaze. Come right in to the heart. Good. Everything's still good? To go on with me? On your next inhale, see if you can let that left knee lift just as high as it wants to come. And then as you exhale, slowly send that leg back behind you. You don't have to hinge from the hips. You don't have to let your torso dip too far, but send that left leg as slow as you can back. And then with control, bending that right knee until the left toes touch down behind you so that you come into a crescent lunge. Feet are railroad tracks as opposed to balance beam. So they're a little bit wide. And then play with your balance. Give yourself a chance to move a little bit forward and back. Just like we did in the lower version. Your hands can be on your hips. They can be at your heart. You can take your hands to the blocks to give yourself adjustments. But send the weight forward, send the weight back. See what happens if you straighten the front leg and then bend back down into that front knee. And straighten that front leg on the inhale. The exhale, sink back down, right knee sink right over the right ankle. One more time, inhale, straightening in the front. Exhaling to lower. Stay nice and low, and on your next exhale, can you dip the left knee down, low towards the ground, maybe even touches or maybe not, maybe just hovers down a little bit, and then as you inhale, can you float that left leg back up behind you? So we're switching which leg is straightening and bending, right? Left knee bends, sinks down as low as you can with the exhale. Inhale, lift back up. One more time, exhaling down. Inhaling to lift. And then on your next exhale, straighten through the front leg. Give yourself a little bit of release. And then see what happens. Can you move the pelvis a little bit? You go side to side. Can you move front to back? On your next exhale, let the right knee bend over right ankle, front knee over front ankle. One more time. Inhale, circle those arms right up to the sky. Get long through both sides of the body. Exhale, strongly pull your elbows down and in towards the sides of the body like a W. Inhale, extend them out like a Y. Exhale, find that W. Elbows into the side body. Feel the shoulder blades pull in and down. Inhale, reach the arms right back up. Last time, exhaling, elbows in. Inhale, arms extend up. Keep them up, and on your exhale, can you step your left foot up to meet the right? All the way to the top of your mat, and then reach out a little bit side to side. Let that L go. And on your next exhale, hands come right in to the heart. Weight goes into your left foot as you inhale, right knee lifts just as high as it wants to come. And then start to slowly send your right thigh bone back, right knee back. Start to bend into that left leg. Can you extend your right leg back behind you? And very, very slowly let those right toes come down. You're going to take a moment to find yourself on your railroad tracks instead of a balance beam. Once you feel like you've got your position right, can you start to send the weight forward and backwards like we did? Lower down, lower lunge. Hands can stay at the heart. They can come to your hips. You might feel like, I don't spend enough time with my arms up overhead. You might reach your arms up overhead. Finding the place in Crescent Warrior that you want to work. Weight forward and back. And then at some point playing with straightening that front leg. And then bending the front knee so it stacks over front ankle. Inhaling to straighten the left leg. And exhaling to sink back down. One more time. Inhale, extending the front knee. Exhaling to bend. Inhale, stay here. And then on your exhale, switch to the back knee bending. Can you drop the back knee down towards the mat? Inhale, extend through that back leg. Exhaling to sink down. Inhaling to lift. Last time, exhaling, sinking down. Inhaling, lifting. And then on your next exhale, straightening through the front leg. And then see if you can find a little bit of movement through the pelvis. Can you shift the hips side to side? With the front leg straight, back leg straight. Can you move the pelvis, rotate it forward and back? Anterior pelvic and posterior pelvic tilt. Just finding a little freedom here. On your next exhale, letting the left knee sink back over left ankle. Inhale, reach those arms right up to the sky. Get long through both sides of the body. And then as you exhale, pull the elbows strongly in. Find that W. Inhale, press the arms out. Extend the arms up to the sky. And then exhale, pull back in. 2 more times. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. At your own pace, moving with your breath. Inhaling up last time. Arms staying up, and then on your next exhale, back foot steps up to meet the front foot. At the front of the mat, you might reach out a little bit side to side. Exhaling, hands right into heart center. If you have a strap or a belt, Roy, I don't know if you do, you can grab a hold of that. Yes. And then take the strap so it's a little bit wider than your shoulders, hands wrapped in it so you can pull it apart. And then hands standing right, starting right at the hips, start to really pull apart on that strap as you inhale to lift slowly. And you can resist yourself as you lift up, lifting the arms as high as you can without the ribs lifting with you. It's not coming into rib thrust, keeping the ribs right over the pelvis. When you come to your exhale, start to resist yourself as you slowly lower the arms back down in front of you. Do that 2 more times without letting the ribs lift. So you can move at your own pace, but really resist yourself as you lift the arms up. You can maybe even feel the arms shake, pulling the strap apart the whole time. And then as you exhale, letting the arms come back down in front. Inhaling up one more time. And this time when you get to the top, pause there and see what happens if you do lift the heart this time, if you let the ribs lift. How does that feel? How does this change what your experience is? Lifting just as much or as little as feels good to you. And then as you exhale, coming back through neutral and letting the arms drop all the way down in front. You can let your hands slide a little wider on the strap so that they're definitely wider than shoulders. And on your next inhale, keep pulling the strap apart, arms lift up and overhead, and see if you can let the arms come back behind you until you feel this nice broadening through the collarbones. Whenever you hit that point, pause there. Full, even breath. And then see what happens if you start to rotate to the right, letting the right arm go back, the gaze follow the right hand, left arm coming forward. And then inhale, come back through center, through neutral. Exhale, rotating over to the left. Gaze following the left arm. Whenever you come to your next inhale, coming back through neutral. One more time, exhaling over to the right, finding rotation through the spine. And you'll notice your hips move in this position. The feet are a little bit wide, the hips move. But can you really focus on rotation through the rib cage region of the spine? Can you feel that region of the spine drawing deeper into the twist? And when you come to your next inhale, come back through neutral. One more time, exhaling over to the left, letting the hips come with you. But then when you arrive, can you focus on the sensation through the rib cage region of the spine and let that deepen the twist? Breath smooth and even. And then inhaling to come back through neutral. And then depending on how wide your arms are on the strap, you might be able to start to send the strap slowly back behind you. If you can't go any farther, just take your hands a little wider on the strap. You might need a little bit more space. Inhale, keep pulling that strap apart as you lift the arms up behind you, resisting yourself till you come all the way up overhead. And then just do the same thing, dropping the arms back behind you. Strap dropping all the way down until it reaches the back of your hips. Inhaling, resisting yourself up. Last time to exhale, releasing down. Inhaling to reach all the way up, arms still pulling apart on the strap. When you get all the way up overhead, on your exhale, send your hands down over to the right. And when you get hands reaching down, your right hand as far to the right as you can. See what happens if you bend the left elbow and then straighten it. Bend the left elbow and straighten. Or if you press down through the right arm and then release a little bit. Press down through the right arm and release. Take one more round of breath, exploring whatever you like here, whatever feels useful. And when you come to your next inhale, reach the arms all the way back up overhead. Exhaling, left hand down towards left foot, towards left hip. Right arm over to the left. And the same thing, pausing for a moment, feeling out what you feel, noticing what you notice. And then see what happens if you bring a little bit of movement in. What happens if you bend the right elbow and then straighten it. And bend. And straighten. Or if you keep both arms straight and you let the left hand press down and then release. And the left hand press down and release. And then one more round of breath to explore whatever your body finds most useful. And when you come to your inhale, slowly drawing yourself all the way back up. Exhale. Arms come down slowly in front of you. Releasing the strap, you can set that off to the side. And then we're going to make our way all the way down to the mat, and you can make your way there any way you like. So you might just reach those arms right up in front of you, take the feet nice and wide. Exhale, start to sink through the hips, sink through the knees, come all the way down through your squat. Hands come down, hips come down, releasing yourself down to the floor. And then you can make your way down to your back nice and gently. You can let yourself come down on the side, or hands can come behind the thighs and release down. When you arrive on your back, take the feet close in towards your hips. Toes pointing just slightly in. Heels close enough that you can graze the heels with the backs of your fingers, with your middle fingers. Press into those feet. And on an inhale, let the hips lift right up to the sky. Smooth, even breath here. Squeezing the glutes, engaging them to drive the hips upward. And finding a nice long line from the ribs through the knees. So not finding like a big arch in the back, so much as a neutral spine. And when you come to your next exhale, slowly let those hips drop back down to the mat. One more time, press into the feet on your inhale. Let the hips drive up towards the ceiling. And then decide, do you want to stay right here just like this? Do you want to take your hands to the sides of your mat down by your hips? Pull them apart and feel your shoulder blades reach under so that you can lift the heart a little bit more. Find more extension through the spine instead of the hip extension. Take 2 or 3 smooth, even breaths wherever you're choosing to be, whether in a yoga bridge, with a spine more arched, or more in the neutral spine for hip extension. And then on the exhale, let the hips lower all the way back down to the mat. Feet can come wide for a minute, knees fall in towards each other, finding constructive rest. Might let a hand rest on the heart, hand on the belly. And when you come to your next exhale, letting the knees drop over to the right, you might extend the arms out, let the gaze come over the left fingertips for a moment. Following that line of sensation from left pinky finger all the way through the inside of the armpit, the left ribs, the left knee. When you're ready on an inhale, bring the gaze through center first, and then the knees through center. And as you exhale, send the knees over to the left. Maybe the gaze goes to the right. See if you can follow that long outside line, that fascial line from right pinky finger through right armpit, right hip, all the way down to your right knee. At some point, inhaling the gaze back through center and the knees. And then you might just let the legs extend out long, or let the knees fall in towards each other. You might even circle the knees in close to the chest. Massaging up the lumbar spine, or stack the knees over the hips and circle there. Massaging up the sacrum. Give yourself another moment or two just to find whatever small movements you need to close the practice. Whenever you're ready, letting yourself settle into your resting pose for just one moment of stillness. Settling deeply back into this moment. Just this beat of the heart. Just this inhale. Just this exhale. Watching that rise and fall of the body with the breath. Noticing all of the places that lift away from the floor, that expand with the breath flowing in. All of the places that sink back in, return to make contact with the floor as the breath flows out. Knowing there's nowhere to go, nothing to do, just this breath to take. And this one. And this one. Whenever you're ready, finding maybe movements with fingers and toes or ankles and wrists. Maybe reaching the arms long overhead as though you just awoken from the most delicious sleep. Bending the knees, rolling over onto one side into fetal position, pausing for just one last moment of stillness, watching that smooth even beat of the heart. Steady flow of the breath. Thanking our bodies for all the ways they nourish us all day long, even when we aren't paying attention to them. As you're ready in your own time, maybe with the eyes still closed, maybe with the head heavy, pressing one hand into the floor and then the other to come up slowly to one final easy seat, whatever that might look like in your body today. If you'd like to join me, taking the hands together in heart center in prayer to close with the vibration of Om, taking in a breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May peace be with you. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I wish you a beautiful day, beautiful rest of the week.